Welcome, everyone, to the Rocky and Lacey Show, brought to you by Drew Stool. Thank you for joining us on this Super Bowl special. There it is, Drew Stool. Guys, Super Bowl, it's the Super Bowl, and Meissy's not with us. Meisty and Mordy had a fun trip to Mexico, making some rains out of the country, which is always nice to explore different cultures. Get a little diversify a little, you know what I'm saying? Nothing wrong with a little diversity, Morty. How was the trip, Morty? Nice weather?
It was beautiful, beautiful weather. I think the only downside of Mexico is that there aren't enough football fans. I think instead of having an NFL game in Germany, I don't know who made that decision. I think they should do it in Mexico. I think that'd be a great grand time.
Or London, even.
They've done it in the past.
Yeah. Is there such a big market for it in London?
Big enough, I guess. But what do we know? What happened to Germany?
I think they're trying to push it. Just push it anywhere they can, and just grow it.
There's not such a big international market for the NFL. There really isn't. The NBA has them beat on that, no doubt. You have guys from all over the world in the NBA, but the NFL not as much. So, anyway,
but everyone watches the Super Bowl though.
Super Bowl's huge. How many views do we know? How many views the Super Bowl gets worldwide? We'll look that up soon. But anyway, I do know that a commercial last year in the Super Bowl, a 30-second commercial cost about $5 million. So that means a 60-second commercial costs about $10 million. And, Amazon did like 7 or 8 commercials at least. So they spent a lot of money within the span of 3 hours. But anyway, let's talk about it then. Let's talk about the game itself.
The Super Bowl views, 2020 Super Bowl, 30 to 50 million viewers around the world.
That's quite a range, 30 to 50. Which one is it? Is it 30 or is it 50?
It says estimated.
We'll call it 40.
Let's go 40. That's quite a bit. That's around the world. Okay. So 330 million Americans and, 40 million. That's a good ratio. That's quite a ratio. You had some games.
30 to 50 just outside.
Yeah. In addition to the 115 million.
Oh, okay. So that you don't even have the number of how many people in America.
Yeah,
watch that.
It's like 110, 115.
How much was it?
The total is around 150.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of freaking people.
Yeah.
Jeez, can you imagine you get that many people around the world? So it's a Super Bowl. It's a big game. It's a game that gets a lot of people's attention. It's I saw people writing an article people are writing articles that don't even have anything to do with football, but because it's Super Bowl time, they're sort of trying to incorporate it. Like someone wrote an article about Tom Brady's diet, how he was still able to play till 44 years old because his nutrition, a lot of, natural foods, vegetables and, and plant-based foods and stuff like that. So obviously it's a huge game, and you'll even see the commentators sort of explaining plays a little more because they know people that aren't as versed with football will be watching the game. They'll do that a lot in the World Series with baseball, in the finals of basketball, and so on and so forth. They really do that a lot. They'll explain, hey, first down, you got 10 yards right past first down marker. Maybe not something as dumbed down as that, but they will a lot of times explain it a little more. But here we go. So that's what we're going to be talking about, the Super Bowl. And, try to put a little different angle on this, Yehuda, because there's a lot to talk about. There's so much to talk about. And I'm sure everyone that's watching this has heard plenty about it, has discussed with their friends, whoever it is, plenty about it. This is how I want to break it down, though. I want to go Bengals offense versus Rams defense, and I'm going to go Rams offense versus Bengals defense. Okay, so let's start with that. Matthew Stafford is not our conversation right now. Let's put him on the back burner.
Yeah.
Yehuda and I were not just on vacation, so we were able to do a little research. No, I'm just kidding. Even me, not on vacation. Life gets busy. Even if you're not on vacation. But I'm in LA, so everyone's coming here right now, and this city is just lighting up right now because, everyone's here. It's beautiful weather as always. So here we go, baby. It's the Super Bowl. I'll be, about 20 minutes away from the action downtown LA. I'll be sitting on my couch though, watching with some friends. So that'll be nice. So let's start with Joe Burrow against this Bengals secondary, because before we get to the trenches, which is what everyone wants to talk about, so we'll let you wait a little because we know you want to hear about that. Joe Burrow, as I mentioned to you, Yehuda, It's such a great playoff run, right? We just announced right now NFL honors Aaron Rodgers the MVP. I don't agree with that. I think Tom Brady should have been the MVP. And in fact, I was telling you, Joe Burrow has been a more accurate thrower of the football this year than Aaron Rodgers. You take away Aaron Rodgers' first read, he has struggled. You take away Joe Burrow's first read, granted, you take away Jamar Chase out of the game. The Bengals offense as a whole hasn't been nearly as effective, but Joe Burrow himself has been almost as accurate, even when you take Jamar Chase out of the game. Thrown to T. Higgins. You saw last week over 100 yards receiving for T. Higgins. Thrown to Tyler Boyd, Uzama, who might not play in this game, which could be a big impact. But how do you see Joe Burrow exploiting this secondary, maybe trying to go away from Jalen Ramsey a little? Am I right?
So I think we could see Jalen Ramsey on Jamar Chase, but there's also some thinking Belichickian style, where you double the number one guy, you double use Darius Williams and safety and maybe Eric Weddle on Jamar Chase. Then you put Jalen Ramsey on the number two guy on T. Higgins, who's more of like a 1B. People don't talk about him enough because Jamar Chase gets all the headlines. But to put Jalen Ramsey on T. Higgins, try to take him away, could be very Belichick style to double the first guy and then put your best corner on the second guy. So I'm not sure if we'll see that or if we'll see Jalen Ramsey follow Jamar Chase, which I think is more likely to happen, where he will be shadowing him. But I think Burrow's best course of action is to attack the middle of the field. That's why Uzama, I think, is actually going to be huge if he plays or not, because Drew Sample is their backup tight end. And, he's not really someone of interest and he's more of a blocking tight end, not really someone who's going to catch passes over the middle. Uzama was really coming on, getting a bunch of targets for the team on a team with with Chase, Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. But I think Boyd and Uzama over the middle are going to be, and T. Higgins to some extent, as we saw against the Chiefs a little bit. But I was mentioning to Rocky when we were watching the Chiefs Bengals game, we kept seeing T. Higgins on these second down, 2nd and 9, making these tough contested catches, or was picking the ball out of the air and stepping up when Jamar Chase is not there. So I think that's what's going to have to happen. They're going to have to attack over the middle because Jalen Ramsey is really hard to get anything past him, even though we did see Mike Evans burn him, but that's a very rare occurrence. But they play a lot of zone defense over man, and Burrow's going to have to, the Rams do, and Burrow's going to have to find these holes over the middle. And we talk about this. So that is the easiest place for quarterback to see because it's right in front of him. So he can take advantage. And I think the Rams linebackers are the weakness of their defense. Their secondary is really solid. Their D-line is amazing, as we've talked about, as we will talk about. But their linebacker group is definitely the weakest out of the bunch. So I think that's where he's going to have to live. He's going to have to get these passes out quick over the middle, and they're going to have to get away from their YOLO balls where they just chuck it up to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And I think they're really going to have to work the middle. And Chase can do that also. He runs a lot of slants, and he can make plays in space. So I think that's where the best way that Burrow is going to be able to attack this defense over the middle, attacking these linebackers, make them sucked up in the play action, maybe if they can get mixing going, which is also going to be really hard because it's one of the best run defense. But if they can get the ball running and ball moving on the ground a little bit, then they're going to have even more access to play action, which is not something that they really do that much. But if they can get that going, then it's really going to help attack this linebacker group, which I think is probably their best way to, best key to victory to beating this Rams tough defense.
I think it's a great point about Tyler Boyd last week. You don't think of him as a guy that wins at the catch point, but T. Higgins, but that's exactly what he did, right, against the Chiefs, right? It was 2 weeks ago at this point, right? 2 or 3 third downs, big third down conversions. So it's like wouldn't get the catch point, sort of the cornerback's hands are right there, but use some hand-eye coordination to catch the ball, which is very important. But yeah. T. Higgins, most of his damage has really come down the field. And Tyler Boyd is that possession receiver for them. Like, they don't have Uzama. They're going to have to rely on him more over the middle of the field. The interesting thing is, though, the Bengals are very versatile in their receiving core. They have guys that can do a lot of different things. As you said, even Jamar Chase can run slants over the middle, do tons of damage after the catch. And this guy's only going to get better. He's in his first year. It's very impressive. Offensive Rookie of the Year. Very impressive what he's been able to do. But Jalen Ramsey is a very versatile corner, right? I have the numbers here, 339 times throughout the regular season that Jalen Ramsey's lined up in the slot, and 685 times he's lined up wide. That's an incredibly versatile number, because generally you'll have cornerbacks lean way more in favor of one direction or the other. Either they line up wide, or they're lining up in the slot inside. It's generally not both. And Jalen Ramsey does both so effectively. We're not just talking about a guy that, their slot corner got injured or their outside corner got injured, so you sort of had to sub him. And, he had a lot of snaps on both because he's still good at this and still good at that. He's incredibly good at this. It's actually something the Ravens do with Marlon Humphrey a lot. They move him around a lot. They put him in the slot. He'll even act as sort of like a quasi linebacker sometimes, which is what Ramsey does. So they can move him around and see how what the flow of the game's going. And even if they line him up wide most of the time against Jamar Chase, which might be the case, if you do that, right? So this is the way you look at it, the Rams. If you do that, Jalen Ramsey is probably the best cornerback in the league this year. You can probably take Jamar Chase out, maybe with a little safety help, with just Jalen Ramsey. Yeah. And then you have help on T. Higgins, who's another good outside receiver. Uzama's not there. You have one slot receiver. A guy like Burrow is going to want the middle of the field as a young quarterback. He's great at attacking down the field. There's no doubt. But in a big game, cliches, obviously, middle of the field is always the easiest spot to go. And, they use Ramsey for the outside. And if that doesn't work, but, Chase is winning the one-on-one battle, double cover him, put Ramsey on the inside, move him around. There's so much they can do with this guy. And it's going to be a tough game. And it's not a Bengals passing game that has been killing it during the playoffs. It really isn't. T. Higgins over 100 yards last week. And in general, the man's over 1,090 yards this year, which is a great number. And Tyler Boyd has over 800 receiving yards. But you've got 3 wide receivers on that team with over 800 receiving yards. So that's an incredible number. And we're obviously talking about the versatility of the Rams. They have a lot of weapons as well. But when you have a guy like Jalen Ramsey, you can move him around. He can do so much. He's not just one of those classic guys who line up on the outside. He'll shut down your number 1 receiver. He can shut down your number 2 receiver. He can shut down your number 3 receiver. He can take away the middle of the field if you need him to. He can take away the edges. He can't do it all at once, but he can do it all at certain points in the game. So I think you let Jalen Ramsey play his game, scan the field, do his thing. It's going to be tough sledding for the Bengals passing game,
I think they're going to have a seriously tough time. And from what we're describing, I think T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are going to be able to make some plays, but it's going to come down to Tyler Boyd, seeing if he can win the game for the Bengals. And the Rams are going to have to make Tyler Boyd beat them. And if you're not the Ravens, then Tyler Boyd isn't necessarily going to beat you. If you are the Ravens, Tyler Boyd will beat you. But I think Uzama will play though. So he keeps saying, I'm not going to miss the biggest game of my life. And he said if the Bengals win, he's going to take a bath in a Skyline chili. So he's really invested, and he seems like he's going to play. So that will help Burrow over the middle, which attack this weakness of the Rams defense. But still, these guys are going to have to step up big if their number 1, number 2 guys are taken out of the game by Ramsey and their zone defense. And Eric Weddle.
And don't forget about the big man, Eric Weddle, another guy who's going to have to step up, or another group of guys who's going to have to step up, or the Bengals offensive line, right? Obviously, they have struggled throughout the season. Throughout the last couple seasons, they were 2-14 2 years ago. Like, you're talking about a Bengals team. What were their odds coming into the season? I forgot the crazy odds. Just to win the AFC North, their odds are 125, I think. 25-1. I think just to win the AFC North. But anyway, this was an underdog, no doubt. In 2 years, going from 2-14 to Super Bowl appearance, and a lot of the focus was on the offensive line. The offensive line struggles, how bad this offensive line is. It was the worst offensive line in football this year. We've discussed at length, which we don't have to get to, creeping back toward average, which they've done. Sort of had have a problem there at that right guard position with Adeniji, who's struggled mightily in the passing game this year, and in the running game, but primarily in the passing game. You're going up against Aaron Donald. Like, Chris Jones ate him alive last week. He did. It was not fun. We talked about it. Well,
I think he got benched on this website. I was reading. I think he got benched for their backup.
The backup. They've been rotating them even throughout the season. They rotate him because he just hasn't been playing well. It's been a rough year.
Yeah.
Carmen, right.
Yeah.
It's been a rough year for Adeniji. It really has been. He has not played well all season. And they've gone up against this just incredible string of great top-notch pass rushers. First, it was Max Crosby, Simmons, and then you went up against Chris Jones, and now you went up against Aaron. It just got progressively worse for him, right? It's for the best pass rushers in the league this year.
Yeah.
And now you're going up against future Hall of Famer Aaron Donald and incredible, players on the outside. So Aaron Donald's a difference maker. Cliche. Everyone wants to say it, but you got to look at it as Aaron Donald being the difference maker. But here's a positive, I think, for the Bengals before I get your twist on this, because I think that Joe Burrow holds the ball too long. We discussed that. 3 times on third down against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, he was able to avoid a sack and make plays with his legs. So if he can do that a couple times, the pressure got to him. He was pressured 17 times against the Chiefs. That's a respectable number. Doesn't mean he's being pressured all the time, but that's a respectable number. They didn't get home nearly as much as they did the week before against the Titans. Joe Burrow used his legs, and that's something positive I'm going to see. But how do you see this matchup playing out up front in the trenches?
Well, I mean, it's going to be a long day for the Bengals O-line. That's the simple take, easy take.
Yeah.
Low-hanging fruit, and I'm going to take it because it is low-hanging. So the Rams have the number 1 pass rush win rate, as we were talking before, and they also have the number 1 run stop win rate, and the Bengals pass block win rate is 30th, and the Rams have an amazing D-line, not only stopping the run, not only rushing the passer. They're just an amazing defense overall. They haven't been that good of a scoring defense, which is interesting. I'm not exactly sure why it's like that, because
I don't know what the correlation is. Yeah, I'm not.
Very weird, because they're constantly winning on these battles. Maybe they're just miscommunications because they play a lot of zone and they're just giving up touchdowns.
There's a lot of factors to that. There's field position. There's the prolific offenses maybe them going up against. I don't know. I'd have to look at the schedule. But there's a lot of factors to scoring defense.
Itself. I think also it could be affected by the Matthew Stafford pick sixes, because I think that might factor in, which is very weird that you would factor that in. But I think sometimes it gets factored in, unfortunately, to the defense.
That goes against the defense?
Yeah, I don't know why. But yeah,
interesting.
That's what I've heard, and I need to look into that. But it's not fair to the defense because it's literally not their fault. But
it's nothing they didn't get in the field.
Yeah. So, but that could be affecting it. But either way, they're really good yards per play, really good winning up front with the line. So I think this is going to be really, really tough for the Bengals O-line. Their guys are consistently ranked in the bottom half by PFF and ESPN stats, consistently ranked, bottom 10, bottom 15, their guards and their centers. So if you have to defend against or block Aaron Donald, that's hard. If you have to block against Von Miller, that's hard. You have to defend against both of them and Leonard Floyd and these big guys, Sean Robinson, Greg Gaines, these big, humongous run stuffers, D linemen up front. It's going to be so tough for them. I don't know what the Bengals O-line coach is concocting right now, but it has to be an absolute master game plan for this, because they run stunts, they run tricks, and Burrow even holds the ball too long. So he doesn't necessarily do them any favors. So they're going to have to throw 2-3 second passes max. They're not going to be able to get these longer developing routes. Maybe they'll have to throw in some misdirections where they have some reverses and stuff just to keep the defense honest. But if not, Burrow could be in for a long day. And he has been in for a long day. 9 sacks and they still won. But I think that was more contributing to the Titans quarterback, who their quarterback was. And I think Matt Stafford has been a little better than Ryan Tannehill this year. So I don't know if they're going to get the same breaks that they did in that game. But we've seen it before, though. But Burrow's gotten sacked 9 times. That also was kind of fluky, because like Rocky, like you've mentioned many times, that it was only 13 pressures and they just happened to get home. So that isn't necessarily going to happen. But yeah, also like you mentioned, Burrow being able to escape Chris Jones somehow and getting out of those pressures and moving with his legs, moving the sticks, that could force the Rams to have to use more spies and just make them consider his legs and just have to think about that as a potential factor, which could then limit their pass rush, because they have to bring a guy who's always watching him. But if they can get the pressure with 4 guys, which they usually can, their pass rush, I think they're going to get at least 4 or 5 sacks. And I've said this before with the Chiefs, but the Rams D line is another animal. and they are going to get some pressure on Burrow. And I know he's been in a national championship. I know he just won 3 straight games in the playoffs, but Super Bowl in LA in the other team's home stadium, biggest stage. We shall see, because it can be hard, and they're smacking him around last game of the year, and it's definitely going to be tough.
Week 21, I saw if I was looking up stats, said week 21 preview. I'm like, week 21, what the heck is that? It's the Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl. And so, so just 2 positives I want to take away from the Bengals offensive line before we move on from this. 2 things to look forward to. Can they concoct a game plan to stop, that front 7 of the Rams? No, it's not really possible with the limited talent they have. But number 1, so Joe Burrow has dropped back 109 times in the playoffs. And he's been pressured, don't quote me on this, but about 45 times. So it's less than 50%. It's about, 45? I don't know exactly what the numbers is. It's not such a terrible percentage. It's not such an awful percentage. Teams have done worse.
Seems high, though. Like when you
what is it, 40 to 40? That's 40 to 45%, right?
Yeah,
that's 40 to 45%.
It's
It's not low, don't get me wrong. But we're talking about 15 pressures a game, which is it means you had an effective pass rush that game. It means you dominated up front the entire game from start to finish, but it means you had a constantly effective pass rush. That's generally 15 pressures. Good number, just not crazy. So that's one thing. I think it's getting overlooked a little. Like I said, the 9 sacks really could be attributed to Burrow, but then the offensive line, it's not been as bad throughout this playoff run as maybe most people want to suggest. If you just look at the sack numbers, that's number 1. Number 2, we mentioned, right? It's Joe Burrow using his legs. Like if he's smart enough, of course, to get the ball out quickly. But if he's smart enough to realize I have athleticism, he's not Kyler Murray, he's not Lamar Jackson by any stretch, but he has athleticism. And if he's smart enough to realize I can utilize this to move around in the pocket, Chris Jones demolished Adeniji last week, and yet still, did Chris Jones have any sacks last week?
I don't know if he had any sacks. I know that the team as a whole only had 1 sack, which is crazy.
I don't think he had any sacks, but he had a lot of pressures. Point being that Aaron Donald will win his battles against Adeniji. The problem with Adeniji, his biggest problem is that when he gets beat, he gets killed. Meaning it's not just if you hold your guy up for a second or 2 and sort of, okay, the pressure comes, but it wasn't in time to get the sack, right? Adeniji loses at the point of attack. So when he loses, the guy's going to run right past him to get to the quarterback and potentially sack the quarterback. Now when you have Aaron Donald, who does that regardless of who he's going up against, now it's going to be a big problem. So there's no doubt he's going to lose. But, Joe Burrow now learning, I can move out of the pocket. Donald's going to have to chase after me. Let's make Aaron Donald chase after me a little, Von Miller and Leonard Floyd there. Don't get me wrong. But I think the edges will be fine. They'll get beat on the edge. Don't get me wrong. I think the middle is really going to be the biggest problem. And if Joe Burrow can take advantage of that, listen, I get the ball out quickly. And if nobody gets open quickly, I can run around, try to make something happen. Don't do too much like Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield tried to do many times this year. But, smart throws, nothing's there, throw it away. Do it in a smart way. And I really think he can be successful in this game. I think they can make some big plays. I don't know if they'll have any 40-yard plays down the field, Jamar Chase, maybe more catch and runs. I don't know. Yep. If one time Adeniji seems to win the battle, then maybe. But yeah, I agree with you. It's going to have to be different. And the Bengals have had to adjust their offensive game plan several times this year as a result of that offensive line. Sometimes been more run heavy, sometimes been more passive. They changed it. So we discussed this. Put the game in Joe Burrow's hands, right? 1st and 10, throw the ball. It's such a beneficial down. That's another thing, by the way. 1st and 10 is such a beneficial down to throw the ball, right? Because generally defenses are playing the run. It's 1st and 10. You want to get ahead, get 3 or 4 yards on 1st down to make it a good 2nd and 6, right?
Play action.
But
yeah,
play action's great. Set it up. You can sort of do things to offset the talent that the Rams have up front and have success through the year. That's what I think. Winning through the trenches.
L'Jarius Sneed was the one guy who got a sack for the Chiefs. A very random corner getting sacked. But
there you go.
You mentioned that we saw that with the Bengals that they refused to throw the ball on 1st down. They went back there, used the run to set up the pass, which is why their offense was kind of middling the middle of the season, and why it wasn't that good until they finally turned the keys over to Joe Burrow and said, let's use the pass, set up the run. Let's unleash Joe Shiesty and let him be this amazing Heisman winning quarterback that we know he is. And that's when their offense really exploded. And he had those amazing performances against the Ravens and the Chiefs. So I don't know what Taylor was doing. And honestly, if the Chiefs had run the ball more, because they were running the ball well against the Bengals defense. If the Chiefs had run the ball more, they'd probably be in the Super Bowl, but they were passing a lot and killing the clock and punting the ball back to to the Bengals. But that's neither here nor there. But the Bengals need to stop running the ball every 1st and 10 every time they have first down. They got to this point because Joe Burrow played well the second half of the season. He's been fine during the postseason. He was really good against the Raiders, and then he was fine the past 2 games. But he's the reason why they've been advancing. And Mixon hasn't been that good. I don't think he went over 60 yards any game, and I think he would have been under 62 yards rushing if not for the overtime he puts him on against the Chiefs. But the running game hasn't been super effective, and they need to set up the pass, and they need to use the pass to set up the run, and just have Burrow just keep it going. And that is another adjustment that I think we'll see. And I think Joe Burrow threw the ball 38 times last game against the Chiefs, and that was with an overtime period. And I think they need to have him throw 40, 45 times. And I think based on how I think the game will play out, I think necessity will dictate that he will have to throw that many times, because I think they're going to be playing from behind. But either way, they need to put the ball in Burrow's hands and try to beat this O-line. Beat this defense. I know the O-line is going to have some trouble, but Burrow can make some plays moving around, running around with his legs. And that is probably their best course of action, not trying to run the ball on this team that's going to be one of the best run defenses in the league as well.
Yeah. So let's flip the side. Let's go to Rams against the Rams offense against the Bengals defense. And I don't think we have much time left here, but we'll touch this. And, the most interesting thing here is the unsung hero of the Bengals postseason, right? The defense coming up with 3 huge interceptions and holding Patrick Mahomes to 3 points. And granted, now let's not forget, by the way, Patrick Mahomes destroyed that Bengals defense in the first half. Every play that there was there to be had, the Chiefs had it. But if you look at the postseason and scope of things, Jesse Bates, just incredible player. And all these guys that the Bengals have picked up from nowhere, an outcast, a group of outcasts. And it's really impressive what that front office has done on the offensive end for sure, but specifically on the defensive end. And I think personally that this is going to be huge, right? Stafford is playing in his first Super Bowl. Yep. Stafford and Burrow have both won the same amount of playoff games in their careers at the end of the day, right? Stafford's in his 12th year, but he was unfortunate enough to be in a Detroit team that never gave him anything to surround him with. And as Meisty and I discussed on the podcast earlier in the weekend, you can check that out. We discussed if Stafford wins this game, will he be a Hall of Famer or not? Or should he be a Hall of Famer? Both of them. Will he and should he? And I said, heck no. Stafford's not a Hall of Famer by any stretch of the imagination. Stafford, his entire career, has been 8 to 15 when you rate him amongst the quarterbacks. He's never been top 5 entire career. Even this year, maybe 7th or 8th best quarterback in the league if you couple together the playoffs. Probably a little better than his Detroit years, but not drastically better. And he has a little better, obviously, much better supporting cast. At the end of the day, the Bengals defense has played great. And you have Stafford in his first Super Bowl. You might. Stafford's played great this playoffs, which is very impressive. Very, very impressive. He has outplayed Burrow, no question. He's been the best quarterback in this playoff run, no doubt.
Brady.
He way outplayed Brady. You kidding me? Brady didn't have them in that game. A couple turnovers had the Bucs back in that game, but I think that Bengals could take advantage of this, if they get a couple of those turnovers. And Stafford's been prone to doing that. He hasn't done it so much in the playoffs, except for a couple of, there's pretty much been one really bad decision in every game in the playoffs. But other than that, and that's Stafford, right? He has that one really bad decision. You take advantage of that. You have guys that can catch the ball. Hopefully not Eli Apple, because he can't really catch the ball. But anyone else, they can catch he's a good corner. He just can't catch the ball. Don't put him at receiver anytime soon, right? He's like the opposite of Trevon Diggs, right? Where Trevon Diggs gets beat a lot down the field, but whenever the ball's in his vicinity, he'll catch it, right? He has like receiver hands. Eli Apple's he's good. He doesn't allow too many big plays, but when the ball's in his vicinity, forget it. He's never catching the ball. Take advantage of that, man, and get a couple turnovers. And I think the Bengals defense is looking good. It's going to be a tough matchup with the receivers, but not even getting to the trenches so much, because that's not what people want to hear. Just what do you think about this matchup? The Bengals up and coming secondary, so many outcasts against such a prolific passing game in the Rams.
So I actually disagree with you. I do not think the Bengals defense has played well. I think they made a few plays. I think they made some timely picks. They made a great pick against Ryan Tannehill, made a great pick against Derek Carr to to win the game for them at the end of the game in wild card weekend, which seems like so long ago, a month ago. And then they made a nice interception against Patrick Mahomes, who had the yips, who when they got the ball, I was like, they're not scoring this. Patrick Mahomes is just off. And he threw into double coverage. They made a great play. But overall, throughout the season, the Bengals defense has been 18th in DVOA. They are less than middle of the road. They're a little worse than an average team. They are one of the bottom 10. One of the bottom 10 teams in pass rush win rate. They are not a great run defense. They're middle of the pack run defense. They're just fine. I think they're a little bit mediocre, and I think they made some great plays, some great timely plays, and they've been stepping up in the second half. Obviously, I can't take away from them. They did a wonderful job against Patrick Mahomes' second half, and they literally just made him look mortal and look human. But I don't think their defense is that good, and I think most of the evidence points to them being an average, mediocre defense throughout the season, as we saw, and they've been playing solid against the teams throughout the postseason, but they're winning one-score games. They won 23-16. They won 19-16 or 16-13 against the Titans. And then they won on a 34-31 last-second field goal. So one-score games are very exciting, very awesome, very fun to watch, but it's not super sustainable. Obviously, it could be their year, right? Anytime, it's always possible. It's their year. The Bengals just have it this year. They have all the luck. They have all the magic. But the Rams blew out the Cardinals. They should have blown out the Bucks, but then Tom Brady was able to come back. And then they played a tough team that they hadn't beat 6 times in a row, and divisional rival, and they played them close, and they finally won. But I don't think the Bengals defense has been that good. Their corners are very beatable, especially with Cooper Kupp, the Offensive Player of the Year, announced. He could have even got an MVP vote as a wide receiver. Matthew Stafford playing some of his best ball. Obviously, sometimes he makes those erratic throws and throws those picks, and it's not good. But Odell as the 2 option, Van Jefferson, Odell, as a former Cleveland Brown who knows the Bengals, and he knows what's coming, and he wants to win a Super Bowl. I mean, obviously everyone wants to win a Super Bowl, but he wants to beat these Bengals that were his crosstown rivals.
Saw how emotional he was, right? With last week, that was Deebo Samuel.
Yeah. With Deebo and Jarvis Landry popped into his interview and to tell him how proud he was of him. So I don't think the Bengals defense is anything special. Trey Hendrickson has been good. He's been really solid as a pass rusher, but they don't have much behind him. Their linebackers aren't very good either, and their safeties are good. Jesse Bates is awesome, but their cornerbacks are. We're talking about Eli Apple. He is going to get burnt. I think if they try to match him up against, they're going to have to zone. But if they try to match him up against Odell or Cooper Kupp, he is just going to get toasted. And obviously, we'll all know he's going to be on Twitter if he doesn't, and if he makes some plays, he'll let us know. But I think he is going to be a significant part of the reason why their defense is going to get beat. And the Rams, like we said, Stafford's outplayed Burrow. The Rams' run game has not been going as well, and they need to get Akers going. And if they get Akers, and they're going to do a 3-headed backfield, Akers, Henderson.
They don't really need to.
I know
they haven't.
Need to. Fine. But if they get that going, and then they can play the pass off the run, the Bengals have no chance, because they're going to have no idea what to play, and it's going to be a tough day for them. But it's
Higbee. Got to remember Higbee. Higbee also injury.
True, he might not play, but they still have solid options afterwards, and they got Kendall Blanton. They got some options, but I don't think this Bengals defense is that special, and they've been playing solidly, but I trust the data more for them to play more like they've been playing throughout the season, which is a mediocre, fine defense that is going to get beat and can be beat by this Rams offense.
Yeah, there's no question. The Bengals are a mediocre defense, but they've been opportunistic. They've played well in the playoffs. Some of these players have really stepped up in the secondary. Jesse Bates and Von Bell is a good 1-2 punch at safety, of course. And Eli Apple, Hilton, these guys have played well in the playoffs. So they, not throughout the season, of course, all mediocre, maybe even a little below average. But, you're talking about a defense that was really bad. for a bunch of years and
Yes.
come up and really stepped up their game. And that front office has really done well with a lot of players that like one man's trash is another man's treasure. That's really what it's been. And you've seen that with the Bengals. So let's get down to it. Let's get down to the predictions here. And I got to tell you, I've been back and forth on this, but who you got?
So all these numbers and stuff that I'm spitting at you, that I'm telling you, sounds like the Rams should win, but I have a small feeling that it could be the Bengals year and they're winning all these close games, but I have to pick the Rams. I'm going to go 35-31, the Rams, either 35-31 or 28-24. I'm not exactly sure, but that's what I'm feeling right now. And I think the Rams will win in their home stadium, second year in a row that a team in their home stadium wins the Super Bowl.
A lot of people are saying there's this feeling about the Bengals. I actually have a feeling about the Rams because everyone has a feeling about the Bengals. Don't get me wrong. The Bengals could win this game. I can go either way, and I'm hoping for a fantastic. I hope it goes to quadruple overtime. For all I care, right? But and then we'll go downtown and celebrate. No, I probably won't. It'll probably be pretty crazy though. I should. But I'm going with the Rams. I'm going with the home team, 27-20. And what do you got, Morty? Who do you think is going to win Super Bowl 56 and hoist the Lombardi Sunday night?
Well, it's definitely a tough one. It's hard because I want to root for both of these teams.
Yeah.
I love the Bengals underdogs, and I don't think anyone deserves it more than Matthew Stafford at this point. So I'm just gonna I mean, my money will probably be on the Rams with the spread, but I'm rooting for both teams. Good game.
Yeah,
good game. That's what we want. Super Bowl 56. Let's go. Let's follow up those. We've had 6 great games in the playoffs so far. So let's end it with a bang. Let's have a game better than all of those. That would be unlikely, but let's try to do it. Super Bowl 56. Alan, Chris on the call. NBC, all the lights, baby. Here in La La Land. Beautiful weather. The roof will be closed. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Enjoy Super Bowl Sunday. All the parties, wherever you'll be by yourself with the party, doesn't make a difference. It's the Super Bowl. We'll all be enjoying it. Thank you for joining us, everyone, and enjoy the Super Bowl.